Hello and welcome to our final speaker today. She works for one of the world's leading car manufacturers. Welcome, Jane. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Richard. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. Thank you for joining us. I know we had a slight delay because you said you had some extra work to do. And I think the phrase you used was, that's engineering for you. Is that something that happens quite often when things crop up quickly?
Yeah, you have to kind of really be ready to be adaptive and get on board. Obviously, engineering is quite a fast-paced environment, and sometimes you've kind of got to drop things and prioritize things, and a lot of problem solving, thinking on your feet at times.
Sure, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for that. So, as I said, you work at Nissan. Can you explain to us your role there and exactly what you do?
Yeah, so I actually joined Nissan in 2016 on the graduate scheme, so straight from university. And I work at the Sunderland plant as an engineer within the press shop. Primarily what we do in terms of the press shop, we take large rolls of steel and aluminium, anything from 6 to 20 tons. We shape it firstly in flat formation, and then after that we send it through our presses, which go anything from 2,700 tons to 5,200 tons. So to give you a bit of perspective, that is the equivalent of 100,000 of me jumping up and down at the same time. So it's, a lot of force. We've got some really big machines, and we form it through a series of stages to make the car panels and that you can see on your vehicle, and also the inner panels, which are kind of providing structural integrity.
Wow.
Sorry, I was just going to say primarily what I do within my role. So I'm responsible for, a few of the facilities that are allocated to me. So I'm responsible for quality on there, making improvements. And I actually work on the new models. So we're just recently launched a new Qashqai, internal combustion, so a petrol engine, and we're bringing out an e-power version. So for that, I get involved in the tool design. I go around the world. So just before COVID, I went to Thailand, China, and Korea to do the buy-offs. I bring them in. I'm involved in everything from quality, cost, time, making sure the tools are going to get their right specification to get the cars as you would expect to see on the roads.
Wow. So you mentioned obviously steel is a fundamental part of your role in the construction of the car and the shapes of the car. What's the sort of, obviously today's about the future of mobility. What's the long-term aim in terms of what cars will be made of in years to come?
So in the kind of past 12 months, we've introduced aluminium to within our pressing process, and a lot of other manufacturers are doing the same. Primarily the reasons for this, you are looking at weight reduction, which is going to improve on emissions, and obviously emissions is a massive thing to protect the environment. So lightweight vehicles, panels that you might previously have seen as metal, we're introducing some plastics. And one of the great things about the plastic department within ours, we actually have like a closed loop recycling system. So the waste plastic comes back into our system. But I definitely think you're looking at lighter weight vehicles, and the great thing about aluminium is due to the material properties, you can put just as much strength into that material, and you've obviously got the advantage of saving the weight and improving the emissions of a steel.
Sure. So the actual shape would be identical to a steel one, but it would just obviously be lighter.
Yeah, so now with aluminium we can replicate whatever shapes we can make with steel. And I think in terms of where cars might go, if you look at trends of how cars have been shaped, they used to be a lot boxier. I think as technology, the machines have developed, and obviously the knowledge, there's a lot of sharper feature lines, a lot of different car designs now on the road. So in terms of the kind of external look of the cars, I think who knows where they'll go, that's up to the designers. But I think there's a kind of, it's opened a lot more doors as to what they might be able to look at.
Sure. So with regards to technology, and I'm sure I appreciate you've only been there a relatively short part of your career, it's obviously changed massively in the last 30 or 40 years. What are the key technologies that you adopt? Obviously it's all very computerized, I'm assuming now.
is the technology that is packing into the cars in terms of autonomous driving. And I think that's kind of where it's probably more noticeable. But we use, if you come to Nissan, if you ever get the chance to come along, the use of robots and things like that. There's various AI kind of software which is monitoring for quality issues and also like productive maintenance. So there's AI systems which are constantly taking readings to prevent any kind of downtime and things like that. So there's a lot more technology kind of getting packed in.
Absolutely. And I'm guessing there's whole teams of people that work a little bit further away than you in terms of in the actual manufacturing plant that would deal with all of that. And then they send you the plans effectively. And then that's when it goes to press. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned about you're on the graduate scheme.
Yeah.
A couple of questions really together. What did you study at university, and what drove you to be keen to join this automotive world?
So I studied mechanical engineering at university. I actually did a 5-year course. So as part of that, I did 3 years to get my bachelor's. I did an integrated master's, and I also did a year in industry. So
you mentioned a little bit earlier about the plastics that you use and the fact that you're very mindful of wastage, obviously. What does Nissan do regarding its carbon footprint? Is it obviously very passionate about minimizing that?
Yeah, so it's kind of the backbone in everything we do. If you ever do visit Nissan plant, we've actually got windmills, we've got solar panels. There's an extensive like recycling and waste segregation. So every waste, even down to the stuff that you're using from, the lunch that you've had, everything is going in separate. So we're recycling, plastic cans, all of the usual things. And then, compressed air is a massive kind of exhaustion on energy. So we try and, limit everything that we use, try and, all of our closed loop recycling system. So when we make these panels, we actually produce an amount of scrap due to the process. So both for steel and aluminium. And the press shop, it's a bit like an iceberg. So beneath the presses, there's actually quite a complex recycling system, both for steel and aluminium. And we segregate that and send it back out to the suppliers, and they actually recycle that and send it back into the plant. So we're really trying to adopt a minimal waste and a minimal energy policy. In everything you do, there's environmental groups to try and reinforce that. And obviously we've got the renewable energies on site with the windmills and the solar panels. So
that's amazing. So how many people work in your plant, roughly?
About 7,000 or 8,000, and then
wow.
Obviously we've got contractors and suppliers supporting that.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm guessing it's almost like a small town once you go through the gates. I guess there's
it really is.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you mentioned to me earlier that you have been doing a lot of speeches for school children, for younger people, talking about obviously how Nissan works. Is that something you enjoy doing?
Yeah, it's something I really enjoy doing, and I'm lucky that Nissan kind of gave me the opportunity to do that. We actually have part of Gateshead College on site, so school children can actually come and visit the plant, have tours. There's various courses set up from primary school children to those, sixth form, and there's various placement opportunities as well. So I often go across and speak to various age groups, talk about, what I do within my role. It depends on the age group, obviously, what content we're going through. Sometimes I go and do talks on diversity. I'm sure you'll be aware it's a very male dominated sector. So I'll sometimes, do talks on diversity and how I got to where I am. But we kind of get, we get kids involved, primary school children on hands-on activities, what is engineering, really like STEM focused.
Yeah, fantastic. So you mentioned about diversity, and I'm sure Nissan have a very firm policy fixed in place. What are the sort of percentages? Because obviously, like you say, maybe 30 years ago, it would have been 80% male. I'm guessing that's obviously changing rapidly. What is the diversity numbers?
Yeah, so when I started, I was the only female within my smaller team of about 20 people. And within the kind of last 5 years, we're up to about four females. I mean, certainly with engineering, you've probably still got, there's still a male dominance, but other departments, especially like the likes of IT departments, I would say you're probably looking 50-50 split in there. It really depends kind of what department you're going within. But yeah, there's a lot of kind of, obviously there's fixed procedures, equal pay and things. I know that's a massive subject of late. We all I started as a group of 38. There was probably about, I don't know, maybe 12 females. But again, obviously, as a company, you've got to employ the right candidate for the job. So you almost don't want, favoritism in terms of the women, but we're all treated like equals.
Absolutely, yeah. Amazing. Now, you talked to everyone about autonomous vehicles, which obviously I'm sure is on the horizon, or a little bit closer in many respects. What are Nissan's sort of views about the future? Where do they sort of see the industry going? And you may be able to, or may not be able to share us some of the things that they're actually looking at.
So I'll start by telling you what we already have within our vehicles. Nissan have a ProPilot system. It's like a driver assistance system rather than fully autonomous vehicles. There is autonomous vehicles out there, but the kind of infrastructure and the roads aren't really kind of set up for that yet. But the ProPilot system we have right now, we introduced on the Leaf. It's available on the new Duke and also the new Qashqai, which we've just brought out. There's a number of safety features and it improves the driving experience. There's an intelligent cruise control, so it maintains speed and distance with the vehicles in front of you. If that vehicle actually came to a stop, you would come to a stop and it would also pull away and maintain the distance. There's lane assist, which helps. It's a steering aid. It helps keep you within your lane, blind spot detection and things like that. And we've also got an e-pedal, which actually allows you, if it's an automatic vehicle, you can drive the car with one pedal. So foot down to accelerate, and if you back your foot off, it'll automatically start the braking for you. Obviously, the kind of next level autonomous functions, Nissan have already got the technology, under study, but you've obviously, when you've got people in vehicles, safety is the utmost priority. So there'll be extensive testing. There's got to be improvements to the infrastructure. And I think really, not necessarily Nissan's opinion, but my opinion, within the next, would our kids be passing driving tests? I think it's going to get to a point where they're fully autonomous vehicles, and the kind of desire of what you would pick from a vehicle is really going to change, because I think it's going to be a lot more about functionality and comfort. And I expect when people are commuting, they'll actually be able to switch their laptop on and be working for the drive. You just tell the vehicle where you want to go and it's going to do it for you. And actually, really, human error is the route to a lot of incidents. So I think you'd be looking at a lot less road traffic accidents when we get to this point of all vehicles communicating with each other.
Sure. So I'm guessing when we have these new vehicles, you're talking about the structure of them. That will have a direct impact on someone in your role, because obviously the panels, I'm guessing, would change, would they?
I mean, certainly the internal panels, the ones that you don't really see, the structural panels, would probably be changes in there. And I think equally, there's a lot of restrictions on emissions. So the market for diesels, is really decreasing, as is petrols. The kind of big focus on the government is electric vehicles. And obviously you can see the tax rates are, reflecting that. So a big thing for us is changing of panels in terms of, the drivetrain of the car. So moving towards electric vehicles, which we already offer at Nissan Sunderland and manufacture, but that really kind of affects what we're doing, battery casing, different access points. And really, I think, again, talk about road infrastructure, I think ideally you'd look at having some sort of self-charging, electromagnetism units within the road, so you're not going to have to be stopping to charge. But I think electric vehicles is really where they're going for. And if you look at 5 years ago, there's already, such a greater percentage of electric vehicles on the roads.
Yeah. So do you think at some point you'll have an electric car that will just drive on, let's call it an electric road, and it will just constantly charge?
Yeah, I think that'll be where you're looking towards.
Yeah, amazing, absolutely. So just to finish off with, I appreciate you. I can sense that you love the role you're doing at the moment. What are your thoughts about the future in terms of where you see your career going? Is there anywhere where you're looking to move on to in terms of other positions within Nissan?
So yeah, you're right. I really do love the role that I'm doing right now. I would like to kind of get involved in more new models. It's such a great project to be able to be involved in, and I'd also like to start working my way up the career ladder. Obviously, I've got a lot of training behind me. I've got some experience, and there's a lot of different avenues that you can progress kind of up the career ladder. But there's also, a lot of options to move laterally, both within, obviously, there's a lot more to building a car than to just be making the panels. So there's a lot of options to move into different engineering departments, but also to kind of take a different direction in your career and, go off to training, go off to, purchasing, marketing. This kind of like, it's such a big company that you've got a lot of options. So I think it's great to have all of those avenues available.
Absolutely. Well, I wish you all the very best for your career. It sounds like you've got a plan, which is the most important thing. So thank you very much for your time today.
Great. Thanks for your time, Richard. Take care.
Take care.